I firmly believe that God doesn't put a dream on your heart if he can't make it come to fruition. But when it comes to fashion, it really makes you step into that next level of you that you know you're capable of. But more than anything, I just give women permission to be them and shine boldly instead of hiding behind their clothes. You have everything inside of you already. You are that person, but your mind is trying to convince you that you're not. You don't have to have a special meeting. You don't have to have a special lunch. You don't have anything special. Go to the grocery store and your confidence, when you put on that piece of clothing that makes you feel good, your confidence, your energy that you exude to other people is unmatched. And people feel that.
The big silence, empowering personal experiences, inspiring compassion, and healing lives. We are no longer silent. We are here.
The Big Silence. The Big Silence.
Tori Kruse, welcome to the Big Silence podcast.
Thank you. I am so excited to be here. And I'm just a big fan that I'm episode 99.
I know.
Wow.
That's like epic. It's the next
It
one
is
100. And I think I'm going to do a solo. And so Tori is here. We just did your podcast, the Tori Kruse Show. And we were just catching up and laughing. So many things that we can just talk about as girlfriends and such. But I want to talk about where you came from, Miss Missouri, USA.
Yes. And actually, I didn't even come from Missouri.
Oh, well, how did you do that?
I grew up in Iowa, born and raised in Iowa, went to college in Iowa. And then after college, I got my first sales position in St. Louis, Missouri.
Yeah.
And so I was competing in pageants when I was an athlete growing up.
Yeah.
So basketball was my jam. Was my life. And then I got to college and I was like, wait, all I have to do is go to school. This is not normal. And so I needed something competitive to do while I was also studying.
Yeah.
And I got involved in pageantry because I saw an ad across the screen on Facebook that said compete for Miss USA. And I was like,
why not?
Let's give it a whirl. Called my mom and she's like, honey, just go for it. And so I did. And I signed up for Miss Iowa Teen USA. I thought I was going to win because I'm a competitive spirit. Well, I was far from it. I was top 15, but then a couple years later, I competed for Miss Iowa USA and was top 15 again. So I said, you know what? When I graduate college, I might give it another whirl. And then that's when I moved down to St. Louis.
Okay.
And I decided, you know what? New state, Missouri is actually one of the top 10 most competitive states to compete in for Miss USA.
Yeah.
And so I wanted a good state. I wanted a competitive state. I didn't want to win a state and then be like, oh, well, they just, there's two people competing. I know, give me some juice here. Give me 50 other women to compete with and then let's do it. So that's where it came from.
I've had great conversations with women who have competed in pageants like Miss USA and Demi Tebow.
Yes. She was Miss Universe when I competed at Miss USA.
No way.
Yes. She's
so
a doll.
bad. Oh my gosh. A doll.
Adore her. Yes.
Yeah. She was on here and she's just like the nicest person ever. Oh, but okay, so you go through that and then what happens after?
So that was a 8-year journey of competing. So it was definitely not an overnight success.
Well, so okay, what was the mindset of okay, I'll keep going? How did you feel if you didn't get to where you went? How did you keep going?
So the first part, I really thought that I was going to win right away. And then when I really realized I was not going to win, and it's interesting because now that I look back, it's like, okay, I practiced basketball for 12 years of my life. I really became an expert at that field, right, of work. Well, then when you go to something else in life, it's just a really common thing now I even think about in business. Like you transition and you're working on a different project where you forget sometimes that you kind of have to go back and start at square one and really go through the process of it before you can then be an expert at that topic.
Yeah.
So that's what I really learned through pageantry was I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, let me get really serious. So that's when I moved to Missouri, I thought to myself, okay, am I just doing this just to win at something? Or am I actually serious about making this something much bigger? And that's when I really had to identify my why behind competing. And if I was going to do it, I need to hire coaches and mentors. And then by the time it was all said and done, 8 years later, I had hired over 20 coaches and mentors who were all experts in different areas of competition because I knew I couldn't do it by myself.
Yeah.
And simultaneously, they gave me the hope and the belief that it can be done. I just had to put in the reps.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a how old were you?
I started competing when I was 18, and I turned 27 at Miss USA.
Wow.
Yeah, so I took a couple
Let's
years off in the middle there.
let's go back. We were talking about RV life. This is I
This is the good
swear,
stuff.
I swear, like, RV life will teach you a lot. We were talking about that. Like, all the things that go wrong, you're like, "Just fix it." And Bobby's in the background like, "Mhm, who's gonna do it? Him."
Yes.
But you just like, you've been to 48 states in an RV growing up with your family.
Mhm.
I mean, I think that teaches you a lot to be so mobile and, like, going with the flow at that young of an age.
Yes, it taught me so many things. I mean, we grew up boating and camping and doing that on the weekends, and then when I got into middle school, I think I was in 8th grade, actually, when we
Mhm,
started doing these month-long vacations. My parents were entrepreneurs, so we kind of had that freedom and flexibility to travel while now that I look back, it's like, wow, my mom was a stay-at-home mom. She was
mhm,
involved in building the conferences and things like that with my parents' software company.
mhm,
But now that I look back, I'm like, my dad did one heck of a good job juggling running this very successful software company
mhm.
while also somehow being present on a month-long RV trip where, of course he's driving. He's doing
Of
it. Bobby
course,
was just
Bobby was like, yeah, because you were just like, somebody's gotta drive it, and Bobby's like, raises his hand.
he's like, never again. 45 foot
No.
king air.
Yeah.
But no, it teaches you a lot
Mm.
about culture and just the beauty of our country
Yeah.
on a whole nother
Mhm.
level. But there's always a sacrifice that comes along with it. It seems really awesome. And at the time, all of my friends in high school were hanging out all summer,
Yeah.
and I missed all of that.
You
And
like that because my parents would take me camping growing up, and I hated it, but now
I
I love it.
loved it.
You did?
But,
Okay.
I also had my brother, and my brother
Yeah.
and I was just actually the best woman in his wedding
Aw.
last April.
Yeah.
And so we're super tight. He's just 2 years older than me. And we would get to a campgrounds, and my mom had this mapped out like a genius. I mean, we were using maps. You were talking about fax machines on my podcast.
Okay. You have to listen to the podcast that Tori just interviewed me on hers, and, yeah, I'm talking fax machines.
And now I'm talking like these big atlas maps,
Oh, yeah.
That's how we got around the entire country in
Isn't
the
that so
RV.
crazy? Like, when I moved to LA, what is it? There was, like, maps and you flipped pages. You're like, "I don't know what you're talking
I
about."
don't know what you're talking about.
The Thompson method.
Maybe we're talking
So
about the same thing.
maybe, like, it's a
It's
map in a
actually
book that you flip
yes,
page okay,
yes,
yes,
talking about the same thing.
yes.
That's exactly how we got around the country in an RV. But the thing is because my mom, she we tried to, punch it in the navigation system in the motorhome. My mom ended up calling her the bitch in the box. Because it would take us down the wrong roads. And when you have a
Yeah,
big rig that's,
you
pulling a car
cannot turn
68,
around.
you can't turn around. We got caught in, like, whenever we would use the navigation, it would take us down the wrong road, and my mom would have to get us back on track with that old paper map.
I know, that bitch in a box. I mean, we've come a long way, and then there was MapQuest.com, and then there
Remember when people used to print out directions off of Google?
no, that's what I'm talking about, MapQuest. When I first moved to LA, it was first whatever that flip book was, and then for meetings, I would literally go to MapQuest.com, and if I had 8 meetings in a day, I printed it out, put it in my car, and I was like, "Energy drink? Okay, let's go."
I remember when I first started outside sales in St. Louis, I had no clue of the area, like, completely clueless,
Yeah.
and I was in outside sales, and at the same time, there was a lot going on in St. Louis. It was not safe, and so I had to make sure that I was in the good neighborhoods during certain times,
Mm.
and I also had all these accounts and all these different zip codes. I remember Googling all of the zip codes and then making this whole paper, this sheet, writing all the zip codes down. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna be in this neighborhood, this zip code. I mean, it was just such a I don't know. But that
And
was just in 2013.
wow.
Yeah, kind of old school,
You're so old school.
Old soul.
Okay. So you've made a lot of transitions. So you have your growing up and then you're Miss Missouri. You go to sales. How did you end
Yes.
up there?
So when I graduated college, I got this outdoor was kind of outdoor, outside sales position in St. Louis, and I was selling commercial flooring.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm very glamorous. And so I was selling, but it was great. it was a great company, great people. It was just, of course, not my calling in life to sell flooring, the stuff that we walk on. But but it was great. It taught me a lot of skills. Great job out of college. And then it hit me 3 years in where I was like, it's not really, this isn't what my passion is.
Mhm.
And I was competing for Miss Missouri at this time. And I really saw myself doing a lot better in competition. I went from top 15 to then second runner up and then first runner up. And I was like, okay, I know that I'm called to more. What is it that I want to do? At that point in time, I wanted to become a sports reporter.
Mhm.
Well, I had zero experience in the sports reporting industry, and I researched the locations that are best for sports reporters, LA being top 2.
Yeah.
And so, and also I was doing modeling full time. And so I was thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm so close to winning. I'm also very close to aging out. So, it's like,
Yeah.
I'm either going to age out or they're going to crown me, one of the two, but but I wanted to win so bad because I knew that I could just have such a larger impact if I got the crown and I used my voice for better for women, right?
Mhm.
And young men actually. So I ended up quitting my sales position and going out to LA to pursue sports reporting and modeling full time and I Airbnb hopped
Mhm.
because I still wanted to. I kept my residency in Missouri because I wanted to come back and compete one more time.
Mhm.
And I was strategic and very intentional about what I was doing in LA in the categories of what would be very helpful for Miss USA. So
Mhm.
I knew modeling would be really helpful. It's a lot of on-camera work. I was doing a lot of runway modeling, so I was really practicing my walk every single week without having to go into a dance studio and force myself to do it.
Mhm.
And I took hosting courses with Marky
Okay.
Costello.
Okay, so we were talking before we started recording, you mentioned Marky Costello, and I was like, "I know that name. Oh my gosh." When pre-Tone It Up, I took hosting courses from Marky in her studio, and was it in Culver City
Yes,
or
it's
what?
probably the
Yes,
same place that I
probably,
went to.
yes. And I was so shy, but, those things are so good, like, I would say anyone listening and thinking about, like, wanting to break out of their uncomfortableness, taking those classes, for me, I hated it. 'Cause I was so shy. I'm like, "Okay, but you have to stand in front of people, you have to do this." But it teaches you so much, not just it gives you that confidence and everything, and then I was laughing. So, then when Kat and I, founded Tone It Up, and then we were doing there was something we had to do, like, I think it was when we started the Bravo show, and they're like, "You guys need to, like, go to hosting classes." And so Kat and I went to Marky Costello, and we're like, "Uh" fun experience.
That is so wild.
Yeah.
So wild because what year was that?
Oh gosh, it must have been 2009. Well, I must have gone to Marky first in, like, 2007, and then when we founded Tone It Up, it was like and we needed someone, I was like, "Marky." It's the only
Yes,
person but she's still like,
she's still doing it.
"Damn."
I know, damn, Marky.
But,
Just crushing it. Thinking, why change it?
yeah, crushing and giving confidence. And literally and, I'm going on a sidetrack here, but even friends that I know and people I know that are really shy and, like, don't like public speaking, they
Mm.
take public speaking courses to increase confidence.
Yeah.
And I think even with, like, pageantry or going to Marky, I have to send her a message and be like, "Do you remember me?" She's like, "I've
Oh,
had,
she
like"
totally will know you. I couldn't believe it when she just commented and liked
Yeah,
one of my posts, and I messaged back. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, Marky!" Like that's crazy. I
yeah.
went there in I think it was 2016.
Yeah, Kat and I broke all of Marky's rules. She's like, don't talk over each other, don't move your hands." We're like, "Ah!" I'm like,
Yeah,
"Sorry." Like, the worst.
I know. What is it like the box right here?
Yeah.
You're just only supposed to. I don't know. I don't really obey by
So,
those
you're
either.
in Marky, you're in LA.
Yeah, so I took hosting courses from Marky,
Yeah.
and because I really wanted to learn how to
Mhm,
be a lot better
mhm,
interviewer and interviewee, because at Miss USA, at this point in my life, I was still hoping to become, Miss Missouri and go on to Miss USA. So, yeah, and I just was really strategic about what I was doing. And then at that point, I thought I wanted to do sports reporting.
mhm,
So my train of thought was, okay, I am going out to LA to get this really invaluable experience that a lot of people get post being a title holder.
mhm,
I'm going to get it before I'm a title holder. So then when I go speak at my Miss Missouri USA interview, instead of saying, "Hey, with the crown, this is what I'm going to do,"
yeah,
and I I I already had the experience.
yeah,
So it was one of those things where I'm like, just do the work before you get the accomplishment. I feel like a lot of people are just going for it
Mhm.
and then getting the interview. But it's like, what if you do the work before? Because then I could speak from experience. I was like, instead of saying I wanted to be a sports reporter, I could say, oh, I met with Fox Sports. I went to Fox Sports LA a couple different times and I gained that invaluable experience so I could actually speak on something. So I was like, with or without the crown, I'm basically going to do this. However,
Right.
with the crown, it's really going to help. And then this is how I can help in a philanthropy way as well. So I started to develop my sports reporting brand when I was in LA and build an at-home studio in my Airbnb. Was quite the experience.
How how did you follow a passion? Like, we talked about it on your podcast and with me and that intuition and that calling, like, "Do this, do that." Like, how do you follow it, and what are tips to someone who's like, "I don't know how to listen to my intuition. I don't know how to find my passion or listen to my passion when I know it's there." How do you jump over that scary part?
Find people who believe in you
Mm.
if you don't believe in yourself, and ride off of their belief until you can believe in yourself enough to do it.
But what if you can't find someone who believes in you because you have this wild idea? Like,
Yeah.
wild. I mean, even with Tone It Up, it's like, fitness oversaturated. No. But then we freaking did it.
Yeah. I firmly believe that God doesn't put a dream on your heart if he can't make it come to fruition. And that's just something for me that I have always faith is at the center of everything that I do. And also, I have been very blessed with people around me, my family specifically,
Yeah.
and I'll never take that for granted. Because I know without that, it would have been some certain decisions would have been a lot more difficult to make. I probably wouldn't have been able to go out to LA if it
Yeah.
wasn't for my family also believing in me. But I think, um, if you don't have it, you just if you have that dream in your heart,
Mhm.
just put one foot in front of the other and just start doing it instead of making it perfect. And we kind of touched on this on my podcast too. It's like, sometimes we get caught up in, oh my gosh, but what if I fail? Or what if it's not perfect? If you just do it and you start just putting one foot in front of the other, then you're going to find your way. And it might be a little bit slower, honestly, if you don't have people around you that
Mhm.
believe in you, or if you don't quite fully believe in yourself yet, but you're going to get there if your passion and your intuition is calling you to something and you actually follow it.
Mhm.
It's going to happen at some point.
Yeah.
You just never know the speed of it.
Yeah. I love that. It's, you have to believe in yourself, but then also anyone listening, if someone is going after a wild dream, I encourage people to support them.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be your dream. It doesn't have to be what if you're a parent and your child is doing something wild, but they have that passion, just encourage because eh, I feel like there's not enough of just encouraging. I mean, even now, like Bobby, husband, like I do some wild things and start new things, and he's like, "I have faith in you. I believe in you." Like, and that just really does help
Mhm.
when loved ones, friends encourage. And I think,
It's huge.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
literally been everything for me, and
yeah,
it started from when I was a kid, of course, but really
mhm,
that turning point my life would not be the same if I hadn't been Miss Missouri, and
mhm,
my career path probably would have been completely different
yeah,
because I learned so much about personal branding and networking and style and being a walking billboard for your brand during that point in time, but it stemmed from me picking up the phone
mhm,
and my mom saying, "You know what, honey? Just go for it."
yeah,
And I know I'm so aware that so many people don't have that with
yeah,
their family or even close friends, but whatever you can do just to find those people, it can just be one person, and it will literally just give you enough confidence to just take that next step. And I think there's so many amazing, beautiful, hearted souls in this world that we
mhm,
can find that, even
mhm,
if it's not easy.
yeah. That's what I'm saying here is takeaway, go text a friend, call a friend,
Mhm.
a loved one, and be like, "I believe in you. You go, girl."
Yes, so
Yes.
true.
Yeah.
So true. And even the ones who look like they're just crushing it,
Yeah.
or like things are going so great. It's like, but what if you just text them and be like, "Hey, I'm proud of you. I see you."
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
just that. I try to do that with a lot of my girlfriends.
Yeah.
Is just everybody wants to be seen. No
Mhm.
matter how accomplished,
Mhm.
no matter what. Really, everybody wants to be seen. And if you just text that one person and say, "I'm proud of you," or "I see what you're doing," it's like it chokes me up just saying it because
Yeah.
it's something you don't hear that often,
Yeah. I agree.
but it's so important.
All right. So you are sports reporter.
Wannabe.
Wannabe.
Was it?
Hey, you'd be like, sports reporter. Miss
My brand
Universe.
was called Highlights and Heels.
Wow. Okay, wow.
That was the first, my company now is called Tori Kruse Enterprises, but it was Highlights and Heels
I
when
can
I
see that.
started.
What year was that? Was that like
2017.
2017? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I pulled that year. I'm like, that seems like a highlights and heels.
It was a Highlights and Heels year. So I gotta tell you the story. It's
Okay.
you're gonna laugh. You're gonna think it's like absolutely ridiculous, but maybe not surprise you now that we've had a few conversations.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we had this Airbnb and I was living with two of my friends in the Airbnb right in the heart of Hollywood. I mean, right there by Runyon Canyon. It was a 2-bedroom Airbnb and there were 3 of us. It was Hollywood.
Mhm.
And I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna be a sports reporter. So went to Party City
Mhm.
and I bought fake turf and I bought a basketball hoop that I could hang on the wall. And I bought a basketball and a football. And then I had a golf club. I had golf clubs since I'm a golfer. I and I bought a white sheet. And
Okay. I'm
I
picturing
went back
this.
to our Airbnb. I hung up the white sheet on the wall. I put I put the turf down so it looked like I was on a football field. And so, and then I put the basketball hoop up behind me. So no matter what sport I was going to report on, I had the proper setting.
Of
I was like either
course.
on the court or I was on
Yeah.
the field or well, I bought a microphone with this long cord, connected it to my phone, bought a tripod for the first time, literally had no clue what I was doing. And I would sit there and watch a football game on TV. And at halftime, I would go get dolled up, put full hair and makeup on, find my best sports reporter dress and heels, and and then after the game, I'd be taking notes the whole game. After the game, I would go in front of my screen, aka my phone,
Mhm.
with this mic, and I would, I would hold the mic, and I was like, reporting live from Highlights and Heels. This is Tori Kruse reporting on the Kansas City Chiefs versus Raiders, and I would give the sports highlights for that game, and I developed my own footage so I could send to Fox Sports because I didn't have any footage. I had no experience sports reporting.
Yeah.
And so I had to create it somehow. And some of my video, I did not know that I needed to have my phone, horizontal landscape mode.
Mhm.
So some of my videos in my reel were vertical, some were horizontal. And
Okay.
I sent that sucker off to Fox Sports and I ended up getting an interview with the same hiring manager that hired Aaron Andrews.
Shut up. See, that's what we were talking about on your podcast with my faxing.
You're
Got
faxing. It is.
Got that magazine. You got to listen to her
You guys
pod.
have to go. Yeah, you go listen to our
I won't
episode. It
tell
was
a story
amazing.
here. But yeah, that's so cool. It's kind of that, like, got nothing to lose mentality.
I really didn't because everybody was saying in sports reporting, they're like, you have to start at like a high school team and go get your reps in. And I'm like, bullshit. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
There's no part of me that wants to start at a high school field right now.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, how can I get these reps in without doing it like everybody else? That's how my mind always is thinking.
Yeah.
Like, how can I achieve this goal but not do it the same way?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of the concept of my podcast being outdoors.
Yeah.
That's kind of my
Like,
train
how
of
can I do
thought.
it different?
Yeah, how can I do it different? But I also took my mic and my phone and went to an Iowa Hawkeye football game. And my mom and I went out during tailgate and I interviewed the tailgaters
Mhm.
for the Iowa-Michigan game so I could also collect footage at a live. And they thought I was with like the Big Ten Network
like-
or ESPN.
Hey,
It was
fake it
just,
till you make it.
I mean, it was a blast. And
Fun. Yeah.
that's when I found my love for a microphone, honestly, and like speaking. And
Yeah.
I have so much fun. It brings so much joy to my life to
Yeah.
do that. And like, I'm so interested in other people's stories and their life and their
Yeah.
journeys where that's obviously why I'm here and have a podcast and I love to speak too. But it's so fun. And I ended up creating that. And it was just like the whole point of this whole sports reporting journey is just, it doesn't have to be perfect and just start.
Yeah.
And the people, like even the hiring manager, he's probably still with Fox Sports, FS1. I think he just respected the hustle. He probably saw that video and was like, this chick.
No, that's so good. It's so funny. Like when we started Turn It Up and we were filming in Hermosa Beach on a corner and like with cameras, and someone was like, "What are you filming for?" We're like, "Bravo TV show," and we were not. We were just filming for YouTube. And then a year later, Bravo's like, "Do you want to have a TV show?" We're like, "Manifested."
It's so true. I told my employer
Yeah.
when I was leaving the flooring position, they were like, "Why are you going to LA?" I said, "Well, I'm going to work for Fox Sports."
Yes.
And I swear to God, at that moment, I
Just
did
a
not.
little white.
I was like,
Not
well,
even a white light. Just manifesting.
just manifesting is all. And then I never worked for them because I actually had to go back to compete for Miss USA. And then that year I won.
Yeah.
But it was because I did the preparation in
Yeah.
advance and, but it's hilarious to your point. I did the same thing. And then somebody at one of the tailgates, he was a Michigan guy actually, and he was like, "Oh, are you with the Big Ten Network?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "No, but
Uh-huh.
I'm in contact with them." And I'm like, my mom is recording me right now. And this long cord is attached to my cell phone. Like, no, this is not the Big Ten Network.
Lesson of this is just manifest, have
Manifest.
fun, and have no shame.
You know what? I actually did end up going to the Big Ten studios in Chicago too.
Yeah.
But it was because, and we talked about this a little bit, but it was because I reached out to them on LinkedIn. I mean, I think, Instagram, TikTok.
Before LinkedIn blocked you for sending too many reach outs.
Yes. Every day I would wake up and I'd sit there and, in between my coffee and crying in LA because I'm like, what the heck am I doing? I'm like making pennies on the dollar. It wasn't anything. And I refused to work in like the, industry out there.
Yeah.
I was server and shot girl before in 2010 and 2011 at the lake. But in LA, I was like, I'm not past that stage of my life.
Mhm.
And I don't know, made it work. But that was definitely the support of my family. That's for sure.
So let's talk about today. You go from that, and now you're a speaker, you have your podcast, you are a stylist.
Yes.
How do you get there?
So I started my company on mindset and confidence coaching for women,
Mhm.
developed courses on that, did group coaching, all of that. And I absolutely loved it. But a big component of my course and of my coaching for mindset and confidence was networking.
Mhm.
And within that was how to be a walking billboard for your brand.
Mhm.
So that part was really the image aspect and the fashion aspect. To actually go back to college years, fashion's always been a part of my journey. And I actually had a fashion internship in Florence, Italy. And I always wanted to I thought I wanted to be a buyer in the fashion industry. So I started in college, myself and 3 others, started a Iowa Retail Association because University of Iowa did not have a fashion program.
Okay.
Real big surprise, right? And so they didn't have a fashion program.
Shocking.
Woof. And I found a group of us who were in the Women in Business organization there who had an interest in fashion. So I was like, well, let's create it because it's not here. So let's start making those connections. And that's where I really became passionate about networking and seeing the fruits of networking with people and developing relationships. So fashion, then I created an internship. Have you heard of Von Mauer? You're a Midwest girl.
Oh, Von Maur.
Von Mauer.
Von Maur. Oh, I call it in Indiana, we call it Von Maur, the retail store.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like a Nordstrom-ish.
Yes, absolutely.
I worked there for 2 years. That is where I worked to raise money to be able to drive across the country and move to LA.
No way.
I was at Von Maur. I called it Von Maur.
Mhm.
And my second job was a telemarketer.
Wow.
Terrible job.
Never do it.
But it was $10 an hour and I was 18. And I was like, I got to save $600 to move to California.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is even better that Von Mauer. So we started this retail organization at the University of Iowa in the business school. And Von Mauer is actually based out of Eastern Iowa.
Okay.
And so I was like, wow, this is a very great retail store for, sponsorships. I ended up developing a really good relationship with one of the gals who worked there in HR. Fast forward, they were one of our largest sponsors for the retail organization. And then I saw a need that they needed an internship program because there were a lot of people at the University of Iowa alone, let alone all the other schools around there, that would really love a fashion internship, but they were lacking in the state of Iowa or anywhere nearby. And so I partnered with Von Mauer and created their internship program in 2012. And part of the program was a buyer internship program. And then the other half of the summer, you got experience in the management field.
So cool. I worked there in 2006 or 7. Probably
Okay, yes.
2007. No, yeah. Wait, sorry. 1990. Wait, hold on. I'm losing it. We founded Tune It Up in 2009. I moved in 1999 to LA. Oh my God. I'm not even in the 2000s yet. Shit. I Karena back up. Okay. So I worked there in 1997.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, I created their internship program for them in 2012.
I'm like pretending like I'm 30.
This is amazing. I love it. But I just looked it up
Yeah.
a couple months ago. I'm like, I wonder if their internship program is still going. And it is. And it was
Wow.
just one of those proud moments. I'm like, whoa, I was in college then when I helped create that. And then I was the first one to obviously go through the program
Yeah.
and be the guinea pig with it. And so, but that's where my fashion, interest really came about and so I went to New York and I was a buyer for them, buyer intern,
Mhm.
went to New York and soon discovered that I definitely did not want to be a buyer because you have to sit in an office all day and most of the time you're crunching numbers and was not what I thought fashion was. So I decided sales was probably going to be the best option. If fashion ever came back up in my life, I was absolutely going to pursue it. And I was actually speaking at an event. I was speaking on personal branding and mindset confidence. And when I was speaking, there were like a couple days later, the event host called and said, "Hey, we have this client that is in the finance industry." And she said she walks in every room and she knows who the wealthy men are, but she said all the women look the same and she wants to look the part and stand out. She said, and he
Mm.
said, "We cannot help her with this, but
Mhm.
can you? You were the very first person that came to mind because you always look the part at events." And it was just for me one of those God moments that it was like, this is it. This
Mhm.
is the time that I've been waiting for. But it was just I had to put in the reps
Yeah.
before it actually came to fruition. And so I ended up styling her and creating my entire styling program, virtual styling program that I have now. And I haven't looked back since. And that's our business now. No more. The mindset and confidence aspect comes with it.
Well, yeah, it goes together because I wanted to ask, like, when you meet, say you have a client who comes to you and she's an entrepreneur and she needs confidence, but I believe that there is a way that fashion can help with that confidence. So, what is that process when she comes and she needs styling? And I feel like because your mindset background, you like I've seen your work and rebranding with people that we know, and I'm like, okay, she's on fire now.
Yes.
What is that? How do you transform and give so much confidence through fashion?
Most of the time, it's permission.
Yeah.
They have that intuition within them where they want to be this person.
Mhm.
What they don't realize is they already are that person.
Yeah.
And I just help reaffirm them that they can show up as her.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what the person that we're talking about that we both have in common, our friend who we
Yeah.
have in common, she was on that trajectory anyways.
Yeah.
But then when I came in, I just turn it up a notch
Yeah.
because what it is these are strong women who I'm working with,
Yeah.
very successful CEOs running, big companies, typically
Mhm.
speaking on stages. And everybody has their own insecurity in some way, right? But when it comes to fashion, it really makes you step into that next level of you that you're capable of. But more than anything, I just give women permission to be them
Mhm.
and shine boldly instead of hiding behind their clothes. So
Mm.
I express their personality and their brand through what they wear instead of sometimes women hide behind
Yeah.
the wardrobe.
Yeah.
It's so much more than clothes.
I understand that. I know what you're saying by saying that. So if someone's at home and uh, they're feeling, not so eh, not so fantastic, even though you are fantastic. What would 3 tips be to just go into your closet or every day, this through fashion or anything like will make you shine brighter and feel better?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It starts in your mind
Mhm.
more than anything. You can put it on any piece of clothing, but if you don't think about it in your mind first, and we were touching on visualization before,
Mhm.
and the first step to anything is you have to think about that person. If you're not feeling your best, if you're just kind of down in the dumps, maybe you're
Mhm.
depressed, maybe you're not feeling your best or your
Mhm.
highest vibration, right? Um, think to yourself, put yourself in the situation just for 2 minutes and close your eyes and think to yourself, okay, if I didn't feel like this, how would I choose to feel?
Mhm.
And actually take yourself there even if you're not feeling that. Force your mind to feel the feelings of, okay, if you were confident in yourself right now, if you did love your body right now, if you were in that dream career or that dream outfit, what does that feel like? What does that look like? Like, attach yourself and your mind to the emotions
Mhm.
of it. And then when you really feel that, then walk into that closet because you are her.
Mhm.
You have everything inside of you already. You are that person, but your mind is trying to convince you that you're not.
Mhm.
So get yourself that mind first and then walk into your closet and find those wardrobe pieces that maybe you've pushed aside because you're afraid you don't look good in them or you don't feel good in them, but you actually want to wear them. Put those on and wear them for the day. You don't have to have a special meeting. You don't have to have a special lunch. You don't have anything special. Go to the grocery store and your confidence, when you put on that piece of clothing that makes you feel good, your confidence, your energy that you exude to other people is unmatched. And people feel that.
Yeah, I agree. And coming from your background and going out on stage, and it's not that someone has to be walking on a stage or speaking or this,
Mhm.
but it could be walking into a conference room, walking into go see their boss. What are some tips on having that confidence, whether it's, go back to mindset? Because we're talking not just women who are powerhouse, everyone's a powerhouse, but like
Yes.
it's not the stages of the fame that this just, okay, I'm going in to stand up for myself to my boss or do a presentation.
The number one thing that gives me confidence is
Mhm,
practice
mhm.
every day of the week.
Yeah.
And it may sound cliche to say practice and preparation, but if I'm feeling nervous about anything at all I
Mhm,
have to do is practice and speak it out loud.
mm.
So if you are going into, I think public speaking is, what is it? Not like one of the number one fears
Oh my gosh,
for
yeah.
people.
But then when you overcome that, like
Oh yeah, you
I
can do anything.
I used to be nervous at our Tone It Up office speaking in the conference room to like 45 employees, and I would like be shaking. But
Yes.
now I'm like, it's
It's
just
fun.
yeah, it's practice,
Mhm.
practice, practice, and confidence, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so for instance, I have some really big speaking engagements that are coming up the end of this month of, our recording here and an entire new keynote for me.
Mhm,
And I'm actually creating this other really, I'll share it at a later date, but this really cool exercise that's super interactive with people. And it's something that I'm just launching.
mhm,
And so there's a little bit of nerves there, right? Where it's like if you haven't actually I've done a lot of keynotes, I speak all the time, but when it's something new, you have to practice. So no matter what it is, I mean, for this specifically, if you're going to speak to your boss or you're having a conversation, it could even be a date with somebody.
mhm,
Quite
mhm.
honestly,
Oh, yeah.
you can stand in the mirror and look at yourself and just have a conversation about whatever you think you're going to be talking about. For me, this is one of my little hacks when it comes to speaking is I print out the most intimidating, quote unquote, people that I can think of standing in front of me.
Okay, so certain personas, like, you just
Yes.
make them up, like, "Okay, I
Yeah.
like this.
So
Okay."
I'm just going to say The Rock because everybody knows The Rock, right? He's like this big,
Yeah,
this big dude. So let's just say, hypothetically speaking, The
yeah.
Rock is like right there, Beyonce, right?
Oh,
Taylor
okay.
Swift. We'll just say all these names. Print their face out as big as you possibly can and line it up in front. I put 5 because I was in pageants, right? And there were
Yeah.
about 5 judges for Miss USA. This is where I developed this idea. So, I print out the most intimidating people that I can possibly think of and print out a massive headshot and I tape it in front of me,
Yeah.
and then I deliver my keynote to them.
I love this. I have a keynote coming up in a huge conference, and I'm gonna try that. See, when you said intimidating people, my brain goes to the cacklers, the assholes.
Mm,
I don't know if that's where my brain went.
yeah.
I don't know why, but your brain goes to these, like, really, no,
It's like
standout
even
people.
somebody to I don't care how successful you are, you wanna make a great impression.
Yeah.
And so let's just say it could be an event host
Yeah.
that you maybe not be intimidated by,
Yeah.
but you just want to make sure that you show up the best version of you and deliver the best message for their audience.
Yeah.
So maybe put their face right there in the middle or somebody who you think,
I'll
it's
be
a
like, "Hello. Yes.
hello,
I
welcome.
love you. Bless." Yeah.
Or people who you think are going to be in the audience that
Yeah.
you just want to make sure that you serve and deliver
Yeah.
in a way that you're so proud of
Yeah.
and that is so helpful to them too.
Yeah. I love that. So, okay. So you
Put
speak.
your boss's face on it. For those of you who want to talk to your boss, put their headshot.
I'll put Tiki, my Pomeranian's face on it.
Tiki. The Pomeranians they go
She's
crazy here in this house.
she's my boss.
It's great.
Okay, Tiki, hold on.
They're adorable.
Okay. So you have your fashion business and styling and speaking and podcasts, and you are literally on a podcast tour right now.
Yes.
You said you've done 12 since in Austin?
No, I
No.
have done 7
7
so far
Okay,
in
so
Austin.
then you're going to Dallas and then some.
And then I'm going to rest for a day.
Rest for a day.
I'm going to go to church. I am going to rest. I might.
Sunday is a day for rest. Yes. And then you keep going, but you have all of these things. And I can relate to that with like so many things going on. And I get this question a lot. But for you, with so many different moving parts and so much energy because you have passion for it, how do you take care of yourself?
It's a really good question. I have focused on my health this year more than I ever have. And I know we're only a few months into the year, but I ended up hiring a personal trainer this year because I figured, you know what, I need to focus on my health. When I am speaking all the time, I am exuding a ton of energy. And then honestly, even after we get off this podcast, I'm going to be on a high. It's just fun. Yeah. It's not, for me, this is not energy. My energy is not drained. It's actually invigorates me. It makes me happy and brings me joy. So even after this, I can't go back to my hotel room and just chill and relax. It takes a little bit for me to come down off of the adrenaline high of this. So I have to focus so much on my nutrition. I have to focus so much on my workouts and making sure I'm healthy, because when those are intact, then I make sure that I get better rest. Even the smallest thing is like drinking a glass of wine, with dinner or something like that. I had to remove that because that little tweak actually affected my energy. So, also making sure that I get massages every once in a while, and just kind of in a sense babying my body, and not babying, but caring for it so well and so gently, because if we don't have our health, we have nothing. We literally could not be sitting here right now if we were not healthy enough to do that.
Right. Our physical health, our mental health. And I love how it used to be like, oh, you're going to work out in the morning, you're going to get a massage, you're going to take time for yourself. It almost, especially as an entrepreneur, was like, I got to hide this. Can I do? But no, because we are giving and we're giving so much. And our goal, because we're givers, is to make the world a better place and help people live their best life, that we need to take care of ourselves. And I've gone through a phase of give, whether it was to a parent, my mother, and then community, but then I just lost myself. And I think anyone listening, if you're a parent or anything, it's so an entrepreneur, you're working hard, take care of you. And we all go through a hustle, which we love. That's
I'm
what
in
we
that season
do.
now.
I know. This month it's like, what?
Yes.
But you were like, what are you going to do tonight? I said,
another thing though that I want to add to the self-care is I go to therapy every other week, which might seem like a lot for some people, but I've had my fair share of stories and different traumas and things that have happened in my life, and so I want to make sure that I'm always mentally healthy too. And it's not always a place. I want that outlet to be able to share the hard things and the things that I'm struggling with, that I don't share all over social media all the time, really ever, because I don't like to, I'll share it once I'm through it. And in my book, you can open up my book, you'll learn a lot. But
same.
Yeah. But I think therapy is so important too. And having that person to talk to, that's not a friend, that's not a family member, but just a confidant who has really wise wisdom. And I'm such an action step person too, where it's talk about it and then tell me what I can do.
If I go to a therapist and they don't give me homework, I'm like,
Same.
I'm like, what's my homework?
However, life's been so full lately that I literally texted my therapist the other day and I was like, what was my homework? Because I totally forgot and I didn't want to be prepared. She's like, well, I can't give it over the phone. Darn it. All right, I'll just meditate and figure out what's wrong with me and what I need to do.
I love homework.
I do too.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah. It's the personal development within us, it's like we're always,
Yeah.
but I love reading books too for self-care, but a huge but here
Mhm.
is I only like personal development books. So then my brain starts going.
Okay. So, yeah. So, what's your favorite one that you would recommend right now?
You are a badass
Okay.
as a whole.
I have that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jen Sincero.
Yes.
She is funny and her tactics are very wise and they're very simple. And so if you're just new into personal development, I think You're a Badass is great. It's just the Audible is hilarious because Jen is so funny. But actually one of the books, the very first book that taught me everything about law of attraction was The Secret.
Oh, yes. Oh, okay. On your podcast, we talk about vision boards. That was how I started The Secret.
Me too.
Yes.
That was my very first one. And that's how I manifested
everything.
Everything. Yes.
Okay.
And The Magic. Have you read The Magic by Rhonda Burns?
I feel like I have.
I feel, it says universe, but you can interpret however you want.
Yeah.
Like
Universe, higher being, God.
Yes.
Whatever. Yeah.
It literally is. The Secret's magical. If you haven't read it, that's how everything started.
It's really so basic.
It is.
Okay. So you said self-development, but see, then I used to only read self-development, but then I was like, how do I get away where you really can not escape, but kind of not, because when you do
self-development,
turn off
if that's possible.
Like when you watch The Bachelor.
Yes.
And
so true.
And so I love reading murder mysteries. I can't name any. I don't know. I'm like, oh, this is good. Just fun detective things. And I think reading is such a great way for self-development and unwinding. Even with podcasts, obviously love self-development podcasts. You're listening to one now. But I also just love podcasts that are sometimes when I'm cleaning the house, I don't have to process.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's a real thing. Turning off, that has been probably the biggest challenge during this really full season of life is how to turn off that switch.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just a process of figuring it out. And for me, my biggest thing is just getting out in nature. I absolutely love nature and adventure. Anything that I can do, like going skiing, we talked about a little bit, it's like going skiing, or I love events. So whether I go to a sporting event, if I like those because I'm actually doing something else.
Yeah.
I love going just for a walk and not have my headphones in because then I can hear nature. I can hear the wind, the birds chirping, and just really soak up that beauty.
Yeah.
And those are the moments that I cherish. I love hiking. Part of self-love for me is going to events too and being in the moment, watching a basketball game or doing something like that where it's completely taking my mind off of work, because although I love what I do, that's also a problem some days because I can't turn it off. And then I go to sleep thinking about it in a good way, but also I wake up and I'm thinking about it. And it's healthy, I think, just to decompress and step away for a little bit too.
Yeah. These are all great tips. So, Tori, where can we find you?
Instagram is the best place. Official Tori Kruse.
Yeah. And you're speaking coming up on your Instagram, anywhere you're speaking, and how to find you for fashion.
Yes. So all the things are the link there on my Instagram bio. Also my website, torikruse.com.
Yeah.
But I'll be speaking in Scottsdale and then speaking at an event, a retreat in Colorado Springs here coming up this month, and then down to Delray Beach, Florida. Some fun places.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining. And of course, go listen to Tori's podcast as well, as we have a conversation where she interviews me. And you can find Tori. It's all in the show notes.
Yes.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much. This has been so much fun.
The big silence. The big silence.